Listen up, everybody. Here's something that every single person can identify with. By the age of 34, Stan Billue was twice divorced, jobless, and bankrupt. Now, how many of you have had that opportunity to be that low on the totem pole? So failure was no stranger to the high school dropout from Fort Wayne, Indiana. But Stan figured out how to turn that defeat around, went on to double his income every year for 5 years in a row, became a professional speaker and trainer in 1983, and for the next 20 years, Stan conducted as many as 22 engagements a month and earned the title Mr. Fantastic. Now, Stan, you went from being a self-made failure to a self-made zillionaire on the telephone. Tell me a little bit about how you did that.
Great question. Jeffrey, I was very fortunate in July of 77 to meet a self-made multimillionaire who agreed to become my mentor. And among the things that he shared with me were two key factors. One was that I needed to do something about my attitude because I was manic depressive. If something good would happen, I'd be up for an hour and a half. Something bad would happen, and I'd be down for 2 months. And the second thing was my skill level. He shared with me three magic words: knowledge is power. And he said that the University of California had done a study that if anyone invests 1 hour a day studying any one subject, that within 3 years you'd have the equivalent of a college degree in that one subject, and within 5 years you would be a world-renowned expert in that one subject. And I'm like everybody else. Well, what's in it for me? I mean, an hour a day, that's a lot to invest. I've got to give up 30 minutes a day at least of Vanna White doing big money and all of this. And what's in it for me? He said, Stan, in 5 years, he said, you could produce audio videotapes, you could write articles or books, you could travel the world, and companies will pay you enormous amounts of money for your knowledge in that one area. So I said, well, fine. What should I become an expert in? He said, pick one of the highest paid professions in the world. And I said, yeah, right, brain surgery? He said, no, professional selling. I said, whoa, time out. I'm a manic depressive. I said, I hate rejection. I don't want to learn how to be on the phone and be rejected every day. I wouldn't like that. He said, Stan, he said, just learn everything you can about it. Then you can go teach other people how to be rejected. I said, okay. And, of course, the second thing was the attitude. He stressed to me the importance of what we feed our mind every day. I was very fortunate and found some positive affirmations that I still to this day read out loud twice a day, every day. And, of course, at the end of this interview, if any of your listeners want to copy those affirmations, we're happy to mail or email them out to them. But part of that affirmation is to pick out a magic word or a power phrase that we have the opportunity to use every day, 50, 100, 200 times a day when people say, hey, how you doing? How you been? What's up? Rather than give them one of our normal answers like, well, not bad for a Wednesday, instead of whining at them, we can use this magic word or phrase like, great, super, getting better by the minute. If I was any higher in life, I could go duck hunting with a rake. And a couple of interesting things will happen. Number one, it'll give you something to live up to. Because if you tell 50 people a day you're great, how could you now be negative? You'd be the biggest hypocrite in your organization. Second thing is you'll start to believe it. You'll become your own best success coach. And, of course, the third thing is you'll drive people nuts. They can't stand it. They'll start saying to you, why are you so great? What are you so happy about? I drive people nuts all the time. They say every time we see you, you're fantastic. Every time we talk to you, you're fantastic. Don't you ever wake up grumpy? Heck no, I let her sleep.
So what do you tell salespeople that want to be successful, but they're just getting by?
Well, if they're just getting by, they really have not made a commitment to become a pro. The only reason that anyone suffers from call reluctance is they're afraid to get on the phone and not have an answer. They're afraid to be intimidated, to be embarrassed. They don't have the right words. And you become confident by becoming competent. So make a commitment, and we'll talk about that a little later, to be a master of your craft. And the second thing is, some people take this telemarketing, selling on the phone, doing business on the phone, whatever you want to call it, way too serious. Start to have more fun. Enjoy yourself. People will stay on the phone longer with you when the call is enjoyable. One of the things that we teach people with management permission is have a little stuffed animal on your desk, and when you're on the phone, pretend that stuffed animal is your prospect or your client, because if you want to, you can reach over and stroke it. If you want to, you can reach over and tickle it. If you get a little upset, you can whack it upside the head. And if you get real mad, you can kick it off the ceiling. But the key is you'll be taking out your aggressions and your frustrations on the little stuffed animal rather than letting them build up inside of you. As I used to travel the world, I would see companies using psychological tests and personal profiles. And here's the easiest way to hire someone that's going to be great in selling is find somebody with at least one of the 3 W's: weird, warped, or wacko. And the more weird, warped, and wacko, the more outgoing personality they have, the more they enjoy life, the more successful they will be on the phone. Understand that it's a numbers game. It always has been, always will be. And one of the things that we teach people to have more fun on the phone and improve your attitude is after every negative call, with management permission, if it didn't result in a sale or didn't result in an appointment or whatever your purpose of that call was, at the end of the call, stand up and yell, yes. Now, why would you yell yes after a negative call? Well, again, it's just one less negative call you've got to handle today to get to the call that's going to be successful. So rather than moan, groan, complain, whine, and cry about the worst call of the day, just yell yes and get on to the next one.
So give me a couple of specific tips that you think that people will be able to become better salespeople by.
Oh, wow. There's a couple of key ones. One, of course, is to develop your voice. Literally become a professional speaker. Go to an acting class or radio, TV announcer school, or watch other professional speakers. Develop your timing and your diction, your enunciation, your pronunciation. Learn how to occasionally speed up to create some urgency or slow down where every word drips with emotion. Occasionally raise your volume to stress a point or to talk so soft that they have to bend into the phone to hear every word. Now, again, is a lot of that corny and hokey? Yes, but do people like it? Yes, people love to be entertained. If you learn to become a performer, if you learn to become a storyteller, that's critically important. The second step is learn to become a great listener. To be interesting, you have to be interested. There's 3 things that people care about most: themselves, their job, or their family. And if you'll take the time, and a lot of places call it qualifying or rapport building, but if you'll simply take the time to show a sincere interest in your prospect or client and get them to talk at least about 1, if not 2 or 3 of those key areas, they will like you. The longer they talk, the more they like you. The longer you listen, the more they like you. And a little key I found out in 25 years in this great profession is that they can never hang up on you when they're talking. So get them to talk.
You know, there's a key word in telephone sales, and that is getting past the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper, the person who will keep you from the decision maker, the person who will block your way, tell you, immediately try to qualify you, tell you we're not interested, whatever the deal is. What kind of techniques do you use to get around that person?
Well, great question. There's a couple, Jeffrey, that just stand out. First of all, just understand that he or she who asked the last question is always in control of a conversation. So if you allow her to probe you with 2 or 3 or 4 questions in a row, and all you do is give her answers, well, very quickly she's going to find out why you're not going to get through. So one of the things you can do is use a little technique called the fishhook technique, which simply, if you can imagine a question mark turned upside down, it looks like a fishhook. It simply means when she asks you a question, give her an answer, and immediately respond with a question of your own to get your control back. So if they say, what's this call regarding? If it fits, you could say it's actually regarding a personal financial matter. Could you please tell him I'm on hold? Now, again, you've given her an answer, and you've immediately responded with your question. Was he expecting your call today? Well, I was hoping to be able to surprise him. Could you tell him I can only hold for about 30 seconds? And again, it's just practice, drill, rehearse, so that you're automatically giving her an answer but responding with a question of your own to get your control back. Another thing you can do, and this can be very beneficial, is listen carefully, because a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, I'm sorry, he's not available now," and most telemarketers say, "Oh, okay, I'll call back later." A few good ones might say, "What's the best time to call back?" But a couple of the great ones would have listened and said, "Wait a minute, she didn't say he was out of the country. She didn't say he was out of the building. She just said he's not available right now." So we would say, "I understand. Please page him. I'll hold." Because over 50% of the time, they can be paged and brought to the phone. And, of course, last but not least, if they honestly aren't available, always find the best time to call back so you increase your odds of contacts out of dials dramatically when you call back. And she says, "I'm sorry, he's in a meeting right now. I understand. What's the best possible time I could call back later today?" "Oh, I'm not sure." Well, again, we need to keep layering because she didn't get the question right. "Well, if you could guess what time." "I don't know." "Would you recommend early in the morning or late in the afternoon?" "I don't keep your schedule." "Well, who do we need to talk to that would know?" And you just keep layering until you finally get the best possible time to call back.
Let me throw a couple things at you. The average person
Sure.
who's listening to Selling Power Live may not be a telemarketer per se who's just standing there dialing for dollars. Now, they may have an hour a day that they set aside where they make a bunch of phone calls, or they may use the telephone to prospect, but they're not going to have a predictive dialer there that's going to pop up the next number and read from a script. For the most part, these are people that are out there selling on an everyday basis that want to be able to get past the gatekeeper in a way that might be more relationship oriented, that might be more perceived as more friendly than pushy. And so there has to be a way to have the salesperson be perceived as a nice guy or a nice woman.
Okay.
I understand that there has to be control.
Right.
I understand that you have to ask a question in order to maintain control. Most salespeople don't know that. And if you're good at it, and as you well know, you can ask a question, let them answer and ask their own questions, and you can dangle control. You can let them feel like they've got control for a little bit because you know you can always take it back.
Very astute. Absolutely.
But the challenge is to be able to get through to that decision maker in a way where the gatekeeper doesn't say on the phone to Harry or Mr. Jones or Mrs. Jones, "Hey, there's some sales rat on the phone, and he's so damn pushy, I got to get through to you."
Right. Well, it's the old story, can you get more in life with honey or vinegar? Absolutely. Some personality. You can try a lot of different things. One, you can try to get on a first-name basis. You can certainly compliment her. People love compliments, and as hokey as it may sound, to be able to say to someone that, Miss Jones, I probably chat with 50 executive assistants a week, and I always upgrade them. I don't call them secretaries or telephone operators or whatever. Executive, assistants a week, and I got to tell you, by far, you are one of the very best. You are excellent, and whenever I do get through to Mr. Big, I'm going to recommend you for a raise. And again, as hokey and corny as that sounds, it can work. You can ask sometimes, "Can you do me a favor?" "What's that?" "I'm sure Mr. Big gets a bunch of these calls every day, and they're probably more of a nuisance than yeah, that's true. Well, this particular call regards and a benefit. How would you recommend I proceed so that I can make contact with him? Leave a message, call back, email, send you a picture from my next vacation, flowers. How can we work together on this?" So again, a little kibitzing, a little personality, a smile on your face can work wonders.
I think there's also the element here, Stan, where we're trying to make a quasi-friend, and we're trying to do it in a way where she wants to be on your side.
Sure.
The more internal salespeople you have working for you, the easier it is for you to be able to get into a position where you can get to the buyer. You may want the boss, but the boss may not be the decision maker, and that woman can tell you.
Absolutely. Sometimes you can say to a person, I may not even be asking for the right person. Here's what we do, and here's the kind of person I need to talk to. Who would that be in your organization?
I've always used the line, listen, I know you run the place, but let me talk to the person who thinks he does.
Yeah, there you go. Great. And again, some people could say that's hokey and corny, but if you deliver it with a smile, a little bit of humor, she's going to love it. And it's a great line. I'm going to steal that. Thank you.
How about giving me the email address for those affirmations that you started out this interview with?
Of course, you can just visit my website, www.stanbillue.com. That's spelled out all one word, STANBILLUE.
And so we can get your affirmations by doing that?
Yeah, just absolutely. Send me an email. Go on my website. I've also got a free monthly newsletter with tips and techniques that they can sign up for. And the affirmations, there's about 10 of them. And believe me, if anyone reads them out loud twice a day within 16 to 21 days, you'll have a dramatically improved attitude toward your personal and your professional life.
It has been a total pleasure to talk to you. You are the consummate professional, and anybody who's listening to this interview should go back and listen to it again 3 or 4 times, because there's so much information in it that you can't get it all. You can't absorb it all in just one listen. Thanks for being with me today, Stan.
Jeffrey, my pleasure. Thank you so much.